This is one of my favorite stories today, and I'm going to bring on my guest before our dear friend. Before I have a number of things to ask him, but this one takes the cake, and I got to get it out of the way, or it's going to haunt me for our whole conversation. So, Steve Yates, as you know, at Yates Comms, he is the senior fellow at America First Policy Institute and chair of the China Policy Initiative. He is an expert on all things China, everything happening over there. So, immediately, I thought of him when I saw this story. A zoo in China is forced to deny that some of its bears are actually humans in costume. And they are, I think the guy in Japan who was trying to be the border collie was a little more convincing than this. Now, I wanted to ask Steve this because if you question it in China, doesn't that like make your credit score, your behavioral credit score take a nosedive?
Well, this is an amazing story all the way around. And I know we haven't talked about it before, but I am a certified bona fide bear expert too, because I used to live right down the world from Bear World that's affiliated with Yellowstone, and they got legit bears there. And none of those bears had sort of saggy pants like this bear did in the picture. The only thing missing in this is a can of beer and a cigarette in the paw of the bear to be a dead giveaway that this is actually a human. I strongly suspect this is what happened with China's foreign minister that disappeared after having a little whoopsie-doo outside of his marriage and got caught. And so now maybe someone can investigate who's inside the bear outfit, but that's my bet for now. Prove me wrong.
I mean, the crazy thing is that they have video, and it's online. There was it's on WeChat and some of the other Chinese social media outlets. And there are these people that are standing around this enclosure, and this dude who's just standing on this rock. I mean, because that looks like a dude. I'm with you. I've never seen a bear with a saggy butt like that, just chilling, walking around on its hind legs with such ease. And the zoo said, no, it's definitely a real animal. Like it was angry that people were asking at this. The Guardian actually has some of the video of it. And it's, I mean, you look at it and you're like, this is not a real animal. I was actually surprised they were allowed to record it. They said that not all bears, this was their answer, Steve. They said, they published a statement. They said, well, when it comes to bears, not all bears are behemoths and danger personified. We Malayan bears are petite and the smallest bear in the world. That still looks like a human in a bear costume. I don't care what kind of bear it is.
Yeah, some of them just degenerate into poor humans. So I mean, now we know this is what de-evolution means. The group was ahead of its time.
I mean, doesn't surprise you, being, it's communist China.
All fakery.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, you're even brainwashed into thinking and into believing that people in these costumes, like in the past, they've tried to pass off dogs that have been dyed to look like African cats or wolves, and they have painted donkeys to look like zebras.
Yeah, that's true fact. And it's horrible. I mean, but you'd think that the animal rights activists of the world would unite and just be rabidly critical of this terrible commie government. But no, they'd rather kick the good old US of A around. It's much easier.
Yeah, it's much easier to do that. See, this is why, okay, so we have stories like this where they have these weird things that they do and they tell their people you have to go along with it or else you might be in the costume next. You never know. But then you have this story that I was looking at over the weekend where it says United States is hunting Chinese malware that could disrupt American military operations. So they say the Biden administration is hunting for malicious computer code that they say that they believe that China has hidden deep inside of the networks that very conveniently control our power grids, our communication systems, our water supplies, and feed military bases in the U.S. and around the world, according to apparently our military intel and NatSec officials. And they say that, it's Chinese hackers probably working for the PLA that have inserted this code in just in the event that, Beijing moves against Taiwan. So they can't even fake out people about animals in zoos they can actually do this? Is that, I don't understand, or is our administration that bad?
Well, I think the consistency between these two stories is one word, and it's impunity. They can do whatever they want at home, and you better not question that's a real bear. And when they do this stuff here, I mean, really, it's been provocative weakness on the part of the United States of America that's given the worst people in the world privileged access to our institutions and our tech. And I mean, you remember what the area of Texas went through and the
Mm-hmm.
ice storms and then with power outages and stuff like that. You think the Chinese People's Liberation Army and the Communist Party of China were not taking notes on these kinds of things?
That's a great point.
So we just have people in China who are joking around when it comes to the bears. And we apparently have jokers in charge of our security who can't be trusted to walk and run with scissors. And we're just letting these people run roughshod. I think it's horrifying to me that this is a legitimate thesis, because you'd like to believe leading the world in technology and with the world's biggest defense budget, we might have prioritized keeping the homeland safe. But our border situation kind of is the sobriety checkpoint in believing that anymore.
Jeez. I mean, we're talking with our friend Steve Yates at YatesComs on Twitter. They said that the first hints that this were happening began to emerge in May. So who knows how long that this has been in there. I can't even believe that it would happen undetected. I mean, that's what gets me.
Let me check my watch. Is it May still? I mean, this is the first we're hearing about this. Maybe they would be like on it to get everyone on alert. Maybe download a new virus update or something to get to say, hey, here's some reassurance. But at this point, we're distracted with everything going on in our political circus. We think there might be a war if China invades Taiwan, but no, they're already here and they're hacking away.
Yeah.
And if the balloon goes up anywhere else, they're ready to shut us down.
Exactly.
That's pretty terrible.
And to think that this isn't even the first time that this has happened. I mean, I think previously the U.S. government and even Microsoft had said, yeah, there have been, some recent malware attacks and it's from Chinese state-sponsored actors. But they never actually said what led them to believe, what led them to come to that conclusion. But I just think that I'm just really shocked by all of this. It seems like they're just trying to figure out what weaknesses we have, how they can destabilize or neutralize at least an immediate reaction if they ever did decide to act. I mean, I don't think it's indicative of them trying to do anything immediately, but I think they are trying to, gauge their opposition and what they can expect should they do so.
If it proves to be super easy and they meet with very limited resistance, why wouldn't they go ahead? And so, I mean, they've hacked cabinet secretaries' email systems. That was just reported in recent weeks. There was a major hack of the Office of Personnel Management budget some time back that disclosed lots of people's private information, maybe even yours truly's, who knows? And so, I mean, they've been at this for a long time. But the answer for why this is happening is just stone cold obvious. If you think you need to be flying rainbows and talking about other kinds of wokery, guess what? And if you're going to worship the sun god and say the weather is our biggest threat, the Chinese are just going to keep tick, 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 chipping away at all this stuff. They're serious about this stuff, and we're clearly proving to be clowns.
That's a crazy irony and the wokery of all of that, but yet being asleep to all of those threats. That's wild. Speaking of China and Taiwan, new Taiwan weapons package to be announced soon. This from Reuters, according to U.S. officials. The U.S. I mean, didn't we talk about this like months ago when another $1 billion whatever package was going to Ukraine? The U.S. is expected to announce that they provided Taiwan with military assistance worth more than $300 million. And Congress has authorized up to $1 billion worth of the Presidential Drawdown Authority weapons aid for Taiwan. They said the package is going to be something like $330 million. The White House hasn't commented. The formal announcement is not expected to include the list of everything being provided, which I would imagine that'd be dumb for them to do that. That seems to be that's a good move. Because at least, I mean, I understand the argument for our interest with that. With Ukraine, we have no accountability. But why is there only just now this focus on Taiwan?
Yeah. Well, I have to be the skunk at the garden party. I mean, this is a way too little too late. This is literally a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
This conflict is in the B's, not the M's, the billions, not the millions. And China's been racing in the hundreds of billions, I should say. And so you want to throw 300 million. And exactly when is this going to be delivered by the miraculous bean counter bureaucrats in our government? We fly this stuff over at lightning speed to give away to Ukraine. Good for the Ukrainians to be able to defend themselves. The Taiwanese are ready to pay for this stuff. But even with these announcements, which they will in fact publicize what this stuff is when it gets approved by the House, by the Congress and all that, in what year is this little drop going to make it in? This doesn't tip the scales. We've got to get a government that gets serious about deterring conflict. Or the Chinese, like I said, they keep pushing. If they meet with limited resistance, why wouldn't they go?
You bring up an interesting point because it's a drop in the bucket. It's still going to make China mad. They're going to be infuriated over this. So why not make the infuriation worth it? Why not then, if you're government and you're talking about, working with an ally that produces, all the superconductor. I mean, an ally that, there's a lot of American interests in this area. Why not then, if you're going to make them mad, then make them mad, make it worth it, make the tantrum worth it. That's just how, maybe don't send anything else to Ukraine. And if you're going to send money somewhere, send it to Taiwan. And as you said, put it in the bees then.
Yeah, well, I'm for selling it because I think that makes
I like selling it. Yes, I want to sell it.
And I also think that the market will determine who's really serious. People that are truly committed are going to appropriate the money. They'll figure out how to use it the right way. And we should go ahead and move forward. The Chinese go crazy if you just use the words they disapprove of.
Right.
So if you're going to take the ounce of pain, go in for a pound of hurt back to them.
Because not to interrupt you, but I get the impression from this Reuters piece that they would have purchased more if we would have allowed that purchase, if we would have let them.
It's been that way for a generation. This is completely backwards by the United States of America. We have put Taiwan into this box. We withhold the advanced capabilities they would be willing to buy. And I just can't emphasize enough, buy.
So we're saying no to them purchasing billions of dollars worth of weaponry, but we're saying yes to just giving it to Ukraine.
And then to put insult to injury, then we lecture the Taiwanese. We're not so sure you're really committed to your own defense. Oh, you mean with the warmed over leftovers that you're giving us on a yard sale price now? Come on.
That's wow. I would love for this to have come up to be a question in the press briefing. I don't think it ever will be, but I find that fascinating. And as a capitalist, infuriating as well. Steve Yates at YatesComs, always a pleasure and always appreciate your perspective. Have a great week, my friend.
Thank you, Dana. Take care.
You too.